in my little Zen corner here, I'll call it. I had these little trees, and I mean, they're fake, but I've always liked them. I've had them for years, didn't know where to put them. So I thought, well, why not create a little Zen corner? I can sit and chill, read my book, think about things, do some work. So yeah, here we are. And I want to just talk about, I guess, the top 3 lessons probably that I've learned after 20 plus years in PR and media. And I guess things have really changed over the last 20 years since I started in PR. It was all really, I mean, I started as a journalist. It was a lot of local news, and I was a local news journalist. So it was all around like newspapers, primarily printed publications. And of course, we've kind of moved a little bit away from that, although they do still exist. And it's harder for them to be successful now because there's so many different options, but obviously we still have the print media. But now, media wise, there's tons of like online publications. There's so many more niche publications than there used to be, like industry sector led ones, ones about specific subject matter and topics. And then you've obviously got podcasts, which are kind of like more like the new age PR side of things as well. I mean, they've been around for quite a while, actually, probably like 20-ish years, I guess, but most of us only really cottoned on to them maybe in the last sort of 5 to 10 years, and it's just absolutely boomed since then on the podcast front. So things really have changed, and I guess the uptake from that is that there's tons of opportunities out there PR wise. And when I say PR, I mean media, getting featured in the media, being a guest on podcasts and speaking on stages. We went through a bit of a time with COVID-19 where actually like events took a bit of a backseat, but actually they became different in their style. They became more online, obviously, but people were still looking for speakers. And now I think we're moving a bit more back into that person, human experiential type event where we can connect in real life. So there's tons of opportunities out there for speaking as well, because we've still got the online events at the same time. So I guess if we're coming to the lessons, lesson number 1 is tailor your pitches for your audience. And it's really important when you're pitching, whether that is to a journalist or a podcast host or an event organizer, that you at least get a sense of what it is that they might want from what you're pitching. Why is it going to benefit them? So, what's the story for the journalist? What's the thing that's going to get their readers interested and wanting to talk and debate and discuss the article? What is that thing? That's the thing you want to be pitching to them. And if it's a podcast host, what value can you bring to that particular audience? So you need to do a little bit of research into what that audience might want. If it's an event, you might want to just research previous speakers, research the type of audience that are going to be there and how you can tap into the things that they want to know when they come to that event. So it's one of my bugbears, I quite often, and I've had people say it to me directly, hear people say, oh, I'll just get AI to create a pitch and I'll get my VA to send it out to as many podcast hosts as possible or as many journalists as possible. And it's like, well, you can do that. I mean, you might get lucky, you might get 1 or 2 yeses out of it. But the reality is most people will not bother reading the whole thing, because they'll know that the same thing has been sent out and not that much effort has been put in, because the same thing's been sent out to everybody and it's not specifically tailored to them. And B, it's probably not going to land. It's not going to pique their interest because it's not directly aimed at the things that they might be interested in and want to write about or talk about. So really making sure that you think about who that person is, and maybe it will take a little bit extra time. It might take a few minutes of looking at previous stories and previous subjects that journalist has written about. It might take a few minutes of listening to previous podcast episodes, but it'll be worth it to make sure that you're putting forward a pitch that has got a better chance of getting a yes. The second lesson, I guess, is all about storytelling and really trying to think in detail about what's the interesting point about this story? Where is the relatable side of things, you know? So talking about not just what happened, but the feelings, it's like picking up on those moments that people will relate to, trying to also pick up on things that are relevant and topical right now, and explaining why that is, why your pitch and why what you're offering is relevant to what's going on in the world right now or in your field or whatever it might be. Telling the story in your pitch in a compelling way, but obviously a truthful way and a succinct way. You know, we're never, like we always talk about, you know, you never lie in PR, but you pull out the bits that are of most interest. What are people going to relate to? What's going to get them talking? And how can you best tell that story in a way that's going to get attention? So it's not just about facts and figures, it's about the story behind it. It's about the human side of your business. It's about the things that you have been through as a person, as a business owner. You want to tap into that. If it's an opinion piece, you want to tap into the current story of what is going on in your industry at the moment and why is your opinion relevant to that. So always think about the storytelling. We read the media, we tune into podcasts, we go to events to hear stories as well as to, you know, get information and get value. We want to hear stories as an audience, and we actually often learn things better through stories. So PR a lot of the time comes down to really, really good storytelling. And the third lesson that I have learned is that timing is everything in PR. And unfortunately, that part of it is out of your control. So just because something doesn't land and doesn't get picked up, whether that's the media, whether that's podcasts, whether that's a pitch you do to an event, doesn't mean that it wasn't good enough. It doesn't mean that you should stop trying there. It just means that the timing wasn't right. And honestly, there's times where I have pitched things and then gone back a couple of months later, pitched the same thing to the same person or done a follow-up on behalf of a client as a podcast guest, and the person's come back to me and said, yes, this sounds great. And you're like, I know, it always was great. It just wasn't the right time for you. So often it's not about you or your pitch or you not being good enough. It's just not the right moment with the right journalist or the right podcast host, or it's just not the right time for them, because, you know, we might want everything to happen right away and we might want this, that and the next thing to all be lined up and good to go because we want that to happen. But ultimately in PR, you're working on someone else's timescales and you're relying on someone else's decisions. And all you can do is tell the story in your pitch, put forward your most compelling messages, and basically put it in front of as many as of the right people as you can. And after that, you just have to hope that some of them will be interested at some point. And if they're not interested straight away, you keep going. Perseverance is absolutely key. And I guess that comes for me from consistency. I sit down and I will do an outreach session where I'll pitch clients to different podcasts and different media, and I will make sure that I hit the numbers that I've got in my head of the number of pitches that I want to do, regardless of how I'm feeling or you know, how busy I am. If I decide that's what I'm going to do, then I have to be consistent with it, because sometimes it's just that next one that you do is the one that comes back. So don't give up. It's not personal. It's just timing, and you're not in control of that timing. So all you can do is keep putting things out to the universe, well, to the journalists, to the podcast hosts, to the event hosts. And when the time is right, you'll get that yes. And you have to sort of trust in that process, while at the same time doing a good job on your pitching, doing a good job on choosing who to pitch to and making sure it's relevant people in the first place. And fingers crossed, it usually happens at some point when the time is right. So yeah, that's my top 3 lessons in PR, and I hope it's helpful. And yeah, let me know any lessons you've had from your own PR activities, or If you've got any questions about PR, put them in the comments as well. I am so happy to answer questions. I'm so happy to go back and forth with ideas. If there's something you want to ask that's specific to sort of your business or something that you're struggling with PR wise, put it in the comments and I will come back to you, I promise. But yeah, hope you found this helpful, and again, thank you for watching. Do like and subscribe if this has been useful, and I will see you again the next time.